Welcome into a brand new Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Corrales Puntacana Championship. I'm Rick Gaiman, that right there, Joe Idoni. And Joe, I think we might have some jaded Paul Casey owners in the Jock Market this evening.
Dude, I just saw your tweet and I'm sort of quoting it as well. Yeah, it's time to turn the page for many of us on the match play and to Corrales. And like we spoke about right before we got hot, I'm excited for this because these are a lot of our guys.
Yeah, we can, like, let's be real here. Like Corrales Puntacana, it's a worse field. Like no one's doubting that, but you and I were just talking through the names. If you're like an every week DFS player and every week better, these are our dudes. We're all like, we're betting these guys. We know these guys. There's still an edge to be made. Someone's going to win this golf tournament. Someone's going to get a $25 a share payout in the Jock Market. Somebody's going to finish second and get $20. Like the green, the money that Joel Damon wins you is just as green as the money that Rory McIlroy wins you.
Yeah. And listen, we got a big contest this week. A lot of players in the field, 240 shares per player, which is a lot considering this is an alternate field event. Jock Market is sort of fully invested in the Corrales Puntacana. I'm excited about it. I actually do like this golf tournament. We will get some coverage of it. And there's names, right? That there's guys that are exciting, new, young players. And at the end of the day, I believe it's a ticket into the Masters. Is that still correct?
I definitely think I know Damon got in that way. I imagine that is still the case. And
so.
If you're new to the Jock Market, what you've got here is stock market DFS. So we are going to be able to buy, sell, trade shares of athletes. Tonight we're doing golfers. So we're in the IPO phase, which means that you can bid on shares of golfers for Corrales Puntacana. And if you are the high bidder when this thing wraps up about 9 o'clock Eastern time tonight, those shares are allocated to you. And Joe, I mean, we can look back at last week, or I can look back at last year, but this type of event, and the Mojo King knows it, great lesser known names in this tournament. And a lot of those Corn Ferry guys that we've been keeping an eye on for the past year or 18 months, like this is an opportunity to really break out.
100% right. There's a couple of them, and I'm sure we'll touch on them here shortly. But guys that have just been playing really well, guys that are looking for that first win, guys that recently were promoted to the PGA Tour. This is one of those events, Rick, that I think they've had circled on the calendars for quite a bit because it presents an opportunity to get a win, to secure the card, to get into Augusta and not have to slay Jon Rahm in a field, not have to go against Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka and these guys. The field is what it is. There's plenty of names down here who we know and we love to normally scoop them up as penny stocks every week. They're going to be a little bit more higher price. There's going to be a little bit of sticker shock, but there's still plenty of value here.
Yeah, so if you're looking for the code to deposit, it's POWER, $50 deposit bonus. And if you want to drop your Jock Market username in the chat right now, that gives you an opportunity to be entered into a draw for Jock Bucks. We just give away free money, so make sure you take 1 second to do that. We're going to enter our Bullish or Bearish segment here in just a minute, Joe. Now, we have a couple of names that we're going to target, but we're going to open this up to the chat. If you guys have a name or two that you would like us to deep dive on, do a little Bullish or Bearish segment, let us know. Throw it in the chat right now. Here is an example, Joe. Here's last year. So this is the results from last year. So Joel Damon, $5.99 was his IPO, paid out the full $25 a share. Sam Ryder finished second, $4.89, paid out $20 a share. Rafael Campos, $2.65 a share, went to $18 a share. You see a ton of that mid to low price IPO paying out near the top of the board.
That's the first thing that stuck out to me when I looked at the free tools over there on RickRunGood.com earlier today. Yeah, a ton in that sort of $4 to $6 range were really sort of playing out strongly. Really, the only guy in terms of that was really high in the IPO that paid off was Emiliano Grillo, who still ended up getting you $14 a share. Maybe we'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. But yeah, a ton of opportunities for new, younger names. We had obviously Damon sort of capitalize, and it was a monumental moment sort of in his career. But a lot of names as you sort of move down the list there who were very interesting to see, who came to this event hungry.
Yeah, so I'm going to point out a couple of those names as we get a little bit further in, but let's get to our bullish or bearish segment. So this is an opportunity for Joe and I to pick out 4 different golfers. We've picked out 2, and we'll take recommendations from the chat as well, and we take a stand on them. So Joe, the first name that we're going with here in bullish or bearish is Sahith Tagala. Now he is a big buy tonight because the fair value on him right now is $10.65 a share, which is essentially asking him to finish 11th or better. Are you bullish or bearish on Sahith?
Okay, so the name of the game is sort of bullish or bearish on their fair value projection. I'm going to go bearish. That's a hefty number to get. That said, I don't think he quite gets there. I think he probably ends in the $9 mark, low nines, which I can sort of get behind. He's been playing fantastic. We've seen some great finishes. This should be a course that sets up nicely for him with the wider than average fairways and opportunities to go out there and make birdies in bunches. That said, basically asking his break even point to be a top 10 or better. I'm going to go bearish. How about you?
Yeah, I'm probably bearish as well. And I probably would have said that for any golfer in the field to finish inside the top 10, because the other thing that you kind of get around here is the wind. You mentioned it. You know, if you look at the weather forecast, seemingly every week of the year in Punta Cana, it's like 18 to 21 mile an hour winds, potential of gusts. And when you have a field, and I would argue, Joe, you know, most weeks on the PGA Tour, you've got the guys at the top that have the best chance of winning. You have some B players, some C players that have a chance. This is like golfers 65 through 200, and they're all very, very similar. So I could argue anybody could win this thing. So if you would have given me any name in this field and said $10.65, I would have been bearish on.
100% agree. Yeah, they're all so close and you're splitting hairs. And anytime you factor in 20-mile-an-hour gust, it's the ultimate wrinkle into some of the stats that you would normally lean on. So, yeah, I totally agree. Anyone over 10 this week, I'd be hesitant to pull that trigger.
All right, well, let's go to the chat here. Jeff says, how about Aaron Rye? So Aaron Rye coming off 4 consecutive losing Jock Markets, API, Honda Classic, Genesis, and AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. But, Joe, we've seen him pop at times here, and I'll pull up his data logs. The fair value that we are going to use for Aaron Rye this evening is pretty steep. It's $9.53, which is essentially asking him to finish 13th or better. Bullish or bearish on Jeff's guy, Aaron Rye?
Jeff, thank you for dropping the name. I'm going to go bearish once again. You see there that the form hasn't been great. Some miscuts all in a row here. And 13th or better, kind of like we just talked about with Sahith. That's lofty in this field. 13th or better. That's basically having him outperform like 90% of the players within the field this week. I think that's a little bit of a reach for Aaron Rye's stature. If he was coming in better form, I would consider it, but I'm going to go bearish on 13th or better.
The good news is when he's at his best, he's a flusher. And when you hit your irons and your wedges well, especially in windy conditions, you have an edge over the rest of the field. The problem is we haven't seen that version of Aaron Rye in some time. So I, too, will take the bearish side on Rye at $9.53 a share. Let's go to a name that we mentioned a little bit earlier, Emiliano Grillo, $6.90, Joe. 22 finishing position or better, 22nd or better for Emiliano. Your thoughts on him for this week?
This is that range that I can start to get behind guys and consider myself a bull and willing to buy them. Look, played great here last year. I mentioned finished at $14 a share, one of his higher performances of the year last year. A ton of miscuts in there. That said, I think this is a good opportunity in a weaker field and a guy with as much experience as in terms of PGA Tour events as maybe anybody in this field. Still looking to sort of for that breakthrough. Maybe this is the week we get it, but I think the price point alone makes him a buy for me.
I'm just the pessimistic one tonight then. I'll take the bearish side of things. You know, I think on paper, this is probably one of the better spots for him. Paspalum greens, which generally is better for the worst putter. We've seen him kind of be able to tap into that iron play to break through the winds, but he's been hemorrhaging strokes in the ball striking categories. And I always get a little bit worried when a guy loses his best weapon. I hope I'm wrong because this is probably a good event for Grillo, but I'll take the bear side of it, which leaves us with one more golfer. And Philip is offering up Grayson Sig. Now, it's another steep one, but I want to talk about Grayson Sig here, Joe. $10.24 is our fair value. 11th or better. I think I might be bullish on this. I don't like.
Give me why.
I don't like the price, but
Yeah.
Sig is one of these guys who cuts his teeth on the Corn Ferry Tour. We saw him kind of get hot at times. He's a really great player. Here's his data, a 5% ROI guy over the course of his jock market career. He's cashed you a profit in 11 out of 19 markets. I just trust guys like this, and I also think that he is in the tier of golfer, Joe, that thinks he can win or knows he can win this week. So let me give you an example. Most weeks on the PGA Tour, a lot of these guys know they're probably not winning. Then you have a week like this where you have some guys who are so far down the list that they say, okay, let me just see like anything inside the top 20. I'll take the FedEx Cup points. I'll take the money. That'll be great. Then you have a handful of guys like Kramer Hickok and Joel Damon and Grayson Sig and some of these guys that truly believe this is their chance to win. Like this is the chance to hoist a trophy that in a lot of events when they tee it up with Brooks and Bryson and Justin Thomas that they don't have. So I throw Grayson Sig into that category and I'll buy.
Okay, I'm going to say bearish, Philip, just because of the price point alone, but you made a lot of strong points that are extremely compelling. I believe 9th place at this event last year, also had a top 20, I think, at the Bermuda, which I think is a good little comp. And like the guys finishing top 30, like you mentioned, in strong fields, Amex, Farmers, Pebble, Valspar, he at least made the cut. So yeah, he's getting himself an opportunity to sort of green light and really go for this thing this week. And a guy who's in pretty decent form as well. I don't mind it if he's, 10.24 is a hefty price to pay. But you made a lot of good points there.
All right, so that'll conclude our segment of bullish or bearish. By my clock, it's 8:28 p.m. Eastern time. So we've got about 30 minutes or so until this IPO is going to close. And then those shares that we're bidding on right now will be allocated to you. The code you're looking for is POWER. And if you would like to win $20 into the Jock Market, make sure to put your username in the chat right now. Joe, I'm going to reveal the big board to you in just 1 second.
Okay.
Do you want to take a stab that at 9 o'clock when this thing's over, who is most likely to be the most expensive golfer in the Jock Market?
So I think it's between two guys, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for me. I think Joel Damon is my natural choice, and he's the better player. Although I feel like there's such a love for Sahith in how he plays and how he looks and how popular he is and how unique of a player that he is. And we've seen that the Jock Market is ultimately oftentimes a test of public sentiment. I think for me, it's going to come down to those two guys. They're number 2 and number 3 pre-ranked this week, which of course matters. So I'm going to put it between those two. If I made you pick one, Mr. Run Good, who you taking?
Yeah, Joel Damon, I think is
okay.
I think he's popular. I know he's the defending champion. I think he will edge out everybody else this evening, but it's still early because right now Thomas Dietrich is atop the board, $3.27 with Cam Percy and Martin Keimer right behind. But Joe, if I flip this over to the top 10 golfers, oh boy, is there a sale on tonight? Is there some value tonight? All 10, actually, let me look. All of the top 24 golfers outside of Johnny Vegas are still at $1, and Johnny Vegas is at 101. So obviously very early in this market here, but I think you're going to be able to get a lot of top 10 players for fairly cheap this evening.
I agree, but it's coming. I see some familiar names in the chat that I know are not going to let this opportunity slide. We will get cheaper prices where I don't think we're going to see anybody break $10. That said, there's plenty of opportunity here with good players in this field that I think it's coming. So if you're thinking you're going to get one of these guys in the $2-3 range, there's too many sharks swimming around here in the waters of the comments that I know are going to bid them up real quick.
Yeah, let's deep dive Joel Damon here for just 1 second. We are going to see a much higher IPO on him than his average, which is just below $4 a share. And he is, despite losing more often than not in the jock market, he is a winning player over time because you can see the spikes here, Joe. Here's the win from last year, the $25 a share payout. Here is the Houston Open. Here is AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He's trying to put this together a little bit and looking for another spike week this time around.
Yeah, he's a great player. Awesome ball striker. I've got him topped basically 10 in tee to green and strokes gained total. His approach numbers are very solid as well. I've got him 8th overall in the field. Just been struggling a little bit lately around the greens and putting. That said, a little bit bigger than normal greens this week. Has some familiar history here. Was able to win here last year in some really tough conditions. I remember his famous bucket hat blowing in the wind off of his head. He could barely keep that thing strapped on. But yeah, I think he's going to play well this week. He's here for a reason to try to sort of defend his crown.
Okay, so we've talked about Grayson, we've talked about Sahith. Johnny Vegas is your number one pre-ranked golfer, Joe, and that's important because in our world, in the jock market world, the pre-rank determines the ties. So if this whatever finishing position Joel Damon finishes in, if he's in a tie with 3 other golfers, he's getting that full payout. And here are Vegas's results here. A winning player in the jock market, over 10% ROI, a couple of spikes here in recent weeks. Do you think he has any outside chance of being the most expensive golfer tonight?
I do, because he's just striping the ball right now. Number 1 in ball striking I have over the last 36 rounds. I'm interested. You have some great course previews. When you look at this golf course, is ball striking the most important thing for you, or what is the stat that is most indicative of success that you had?
Yes. It's so interesting because these are wider fairways than average, which I think would hurt someone like Johnny Vegas, who is actually, I don't use this word lightly. He's elite off the tee. The rest of his game ain't that great, but he is elite off the tee. And I wish these were kind of more narrow fairways where maybe like distance would also help. But there is something to me when I go back and look at all of these past results. I see a bunch of flushers, man. I just think that when you start getting in the wind, you got to be able to just slice through it. And I do think that better than most guys, Johnny Vegas is able to accomplish that.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to refresh this big board here. So if you're looking for the deposit code, it's POWER. That's the code that you are looking for. That'll get you up to a $50 deposit bonus. And if you drop your Jock Market username in the chat, I'll enter you into a draw to win $20. Here is the big board, Joe. And we've got Alex Smalley here now leading the way. The Duke kid, fresh up from the Corn Ferry Tour, going to be one of the popular names this week. He's already at $3.41. As you start to scroll through kind of the first page of the board here, do any of these names stand out for you as someone who might be making your portfolio this evening?
I think it's fluid because it's still going. One guy that I had some interest in was Wesley Bryan, just because he had such a heartbreaking, I think he just needed a par and made bogey on one of the last holes of the Valspar to basically keep his PGA Tour card going. Ton of motivation for him. Another guy, and this is all going to move so much, Rick, but Doc Redman's kind of turned it around a little bit for me. I've seen some really positive signs. I was on him last week at Valspar. It's not been great. Like, he's not finishing top 10 like we saw him, but things are trending in that direction where I think this is a course where if he put it all together, I don't remember if it was here or Bermuda that he had one of the best finishes and was in the final group on a Sunday within the last couple of years. But seems like a place that should definitely favor his game. And you want to talk about ball striking and guys who that's their strength in potentially tough conditions. Doc's kind of that guy.
Yeah, that was Bermuda, but you're still talking about, Paspalum greens and windy conditions. And I agree with you. I obviously keep a close eye on what Doc is up to every single week. And it's slow. It's been slow, but we're seeing the turnarounds. We're seeing him start to lean into his strengths a little bit better, which is always exciting stuff. The other one here for me is Alex Smotherman, Joe. Smotherman, we haven't seen a whole lot of him. He's kind of cut from literally the same cloth of Will Zalatoris. They look very similar. They're both like 130 pounds and slender blondes, so to speak. But here you go. He's only played 10 jock markets, he has won you money in 5, he has lost you money in 5, and he is returning a 41% ROI, a massive number there for someone who's usually very, very cheap. Now he'll be more expensive tonight, but I truly believe his ball striking is in a different class.
Yes, his ball striking is in a different class. I have him 4th and 5th in approach, and he's not a good putter. And you mentioned this earlier, and I don't want to I didn't really get the chance to reiterate it much, but pass Palom, weird, slow. It's generally doesn't break a whole bunch. It's just a very unique surface that they really only have sort of in this Central America and Caribbean region that tends to reward players who are not normally great putters on 14 stimp meter Tiff Eagle greens. He's 89th in putting. He reminds me very much of a guy whose strengths would align with a course like this. Another one, and a guy that I've been on and am more familiar with than Smotherman, Adam Spensen. This guy just absolutely crushed it tee to green at the Honda, hit every green in regulation one day. He's been awesome tee to green. He misses a lot of 4 to 6 foot putts, Rick. And I think this could be the type of golf course that could mitigate some of his weaknesses and accelerate some of his strengths that he has, just like Smotherman.
Yeah, without getting super into the weeds or into the strain of grass, that pass Palom, it's a thicker blade, and it usually, as we've seen results wise, it's better for poor putters. They feel like they can read it. It's not as grainy, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, here is Adam Spensen's results, and they're kind of all over the place, Joe. But this is what I like. This it's probably a lot of personal preference. If you're Austin and you're buying up 90 guys a week, maybe you'll take your 3% ROI on every single player and be fine. I would rather have peaks and valleys like this, but it's a little bit of personal preference.
Yeah, depends on how much you're playing. If you're going to get 90 guys, yeah, you want a little bit more steady, but it's also nice to have a couple of these guys with boom or bust potential. And Spensen is another guy historically throughout his life has been a winner. Won twice on the Korn Ferry Tour last year, won a Q School event, won many times in college, has got maybe one of the better caddies in the field this week as well with Tim Tucker on the bag. So all those things put together, I think that he sets up to be one of the better plays this week.
We gave Austin Smotherman the bump. He's now the most expensive golfer in the jock market, $4.11, which is essentially asking him to finish. Let me expand my board a little bit here. Still very early, but asking him to finish like, geez, oh man, 40th or better. He's going to get more expensive than that. Let me give away a little bit of money. I've been piling these up. Eric Fletcher, you're on the board. Congratulations. Eric has won $20 into the jock market. If you want to be like Eric, if you want to be cool like Eric and get $20 to the jock market, make sure you have your username in the chat right now, because that's how you get it done. If you haven't deposited yet, you're crazy. Go ahead and use the code POWER. That'll get you up to a $50 deposit bonus. All right, Joe, let's continue down this board here. And I'll show you the top 10 golfers, because we're still seeing very little movement. Aaron Rye, who we've talked about, Patrick Rogers is here. Even Danny Willett is here. Why aren't we seeing any movement from the top 10? Is it just early, or are people taking flyers on guys further down the board?
I think they're kind of waiting. Like you mentioned, it's one of those events where a lot of it's going to come down to price. I think that any one of these guys, you could see a potential pop this week. So I think everyone's kind of pausing and holding on those guys that are easy to find when the last couple of minutes hit, and they're making their bids sort of down the list now. But we'll see. They're going to come.
Here's a guy. Maybe we can get a bump on Kramer Hickok here. Hickok is I picked him in. I have a league where I have to make a one and done selection for Puntacana as well. Kramer Hickok is the guy that I picked. He's currently $1.10. His fair value for this evening is $7.15. So we're nowhere near that. But you probably don't have anybody in this field, Joe, who made the cut and finished inside the top 50 at the Players Championship and inside the top 35 at the Valspar. Those are a couple of really good, stronger field events. When you get to this field, you have to think that Kramer Hickok enters with supreme confidence.
Yeah, He's playing well. You're right. He had a lot of good, solid reps on the PGA Tour last year. I think back to Houston, it was where he was in contention. I think back to what I believe was Travelers, maybe, where he was in that
Yeah.
playoff with Harris English. So a ton of good reps under his belt. Still looking to obviously get that first PGA Tour win, and obviously coming in with good form. Presents a great opportunity on the plate for him this week.
I think both the Hoygaard brothers are in the field this week. So Nikolai, $1.06 at the moment. He's only participated in 2 jock markets, Joe. One was the Honda Classic. He lost you a bunch of money because he missed the cut, or not a bunch of money because his IPO was 378. And then the Arnold Palmer Invitational missed the cut there as well. When you see a guy with little jock market experience, not a lot of PGA Tour experience, and the only events that he's played are much bigger events than this one, how do you start to reconcile their chances this week?
Yeah, it's tough for me. I'm more comfortable generally going with the known commodities and what I've seen, but there are obviously potential here when we see these guys come in that may be lesser known names that still have a ton of good reps under their belt and still are able to compete in big time events. So this is an opportunity for them, just like anyone else. And ultimately, for me, it typically comes down to price point.
Fair enough. I'm just scrolling through the rest of this board here, and I see names like Tommy Gainey that I think are actually quite interesting. And I see names like Kurt Kitayama. Kitayama actually kind of burned me recently with the miscut last week, but maybe this is a better spot for him, much weaker field. It's a guy who, when he's on, he can kind of flush it a little bit.
Yeah, so these guys, I think when you're looking in terms of pre-ranks as you go down the list in like 30 to 50 range, I think you can make a strong case, and I think this is where I'm going to try to concentrate a lot of my portfolio. Kitayama played great at the Honda. Another guy who plays well at the Honda a lot is Chase Seifert, who's on there. Finished top 25 again this year after Monday qualifying into there. Had a good finish at the Bermuda, I believe, in October as well. Let me see. Yeah, 22nd at the Bermuda, 25th at the Honda, 41st at Puerto Rico. So he was able to play that event a couple of weeks ago as well. I think that he could set up well. Tyler Duncan's another one who I don't know. Maybe I'm just not seeing the finishes, but when I kind of ran a little bit of looked at some stat metrics, he's really sort of popping in a lot of the approach statistics.
I don't have his stuff in front of me, but I played him at the what event did we just have? Valspar. And for like 3.5 days, he was pretty darn good. He was, I think he gave it a lot of it back on Sunday, but I'm with you. That's kind
Still
of
top 25. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting name as well. Austin Smotherman still out in front of our jock market big board here, $4.95. Doc Redman did get the bump, Joe, 488, and Alex Smalley right behind at 466. So 5 golfers over the $4 mark, and we did get a little bit of a bump on Kramer Hickok.
We're just bumping these guys up. What about give me something on Thomas Dietrich? Because I see his odds number, I see where he's projected. I don't know much about him. You got any tidbits on Dietrich for me this week?
Yeah, you see him a lot more on the DP World Tour, but the last couple of times he's come over, Mayakoba and Bermuda, he's returned to a profit in the jock market, top 25s in both of those. So he kind of picks and chooses the events that he's going to play, and I think he does a pretty good job of it. Yeah, he's a solid guy. I like his chances this week.
Another one I wanted to ask you about, just because I know he's been playing. I'm not sure if it's Corn Ferry or the alternate events, but I've seen his name a couple of times on Golf Channel. It's Peter Uihlein. Decent performance here last year. I'm looking at it now. IPO'd for $440, ended up paying out $7 a share. He's a guy that I could definitely see some interest in, and showed a decent ROI last time at this event.
So I'll tell you, I wish he was playing a little bit better, because this is someone that I generally like. He's currently $1 right now, but he has lost you in 6 straight cash markets, which is a little bit concerning. But I'll tell you this. So Uihlein won the Corn Ferry event last year out here at Paiute in Las Vegas, and it was like 40-mile-an-hour winds. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. So I don't know if maybe he needs a little windy week to get back in action. Maybe this is a decent spot for him, but I saw his name too, and I was like, man, I wish he was playing better because I could have really liked Uline this week. It's hard to expect too much, I think, at this point.
Yeah, it was like the Louisiana event, I think a couple weeks ago on Corn Ferry Tour that I just happened to come across his name. A lot of guys like in the projected ranks really low are already have like a decent IPO. Like they're in the $3 range. I'm looking at Graham McDowell. I'm looking at Victor Perez. I'm looking at RCB. I'm looking at Wes Bryan, Cam Percy. It's interesting to see those guys IPO at $3 and basically the top of the board all sitting there still at 1, unless I need to refresh. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Listen, I think what it speaks to, what I believe the case to be, is that the margins in this event are tiny between golfers. I mean, like I said, 65. Like if you didn't get into the OWGR, it's like golfers 65 to 200, and they are so tight. So tight. So I think people are just kind of taking flyers on guys that they like, or guys that they think they're getting a pretty good deal on. Grayson Sig, we're seeing movement now. We're getting bids now. Grayson Sig up to $6.14 a share. Joel Damon, your defending champion, up to $5.55. Alex Smalley, Austin Smotherman, Kramer Hickok, all at $5 a share. So we're seeing movement here, Joe, and we've got about 10 minutes or so until this IPO closes. So I imagine this is the time where you got to have your favorites in order. You got to have your notifications turned on, because we're going to heat this thing up here, aren't we?
Yeah, this is kind of be a unique week because I do have a ton of guys in my favorites, but the way this thing's shaping up, I may need to reevaluate some other guys. Like seeing some guys have already cleared what I was willing to pay, and there's other guys who are way below it. So I think this thing is going to be very fluid and active over the next 5 to 10 minutes here, and we'll kind of see how things shake out.
Yeah, so the way this is going to work, we've got about 10 minutes to go. It's 8:47 p.m. Eastern time by my clock. So in about 10 minutes or so, we're going to enter a 90-second random window in which the IPO can close at any time. That ensures the integrity of the contest and the security for everybody who's putting bids in. And then in about 4 minutes, we let you, Joe, go do your thing where you start to build your portfolio out. You get your bids in, and then we come back and we see what shares you ended up with.
Yeah, all you guys in the comments, I get my hands dirty with you guys over here over the next couple of minutes. My strategy, guys, is usually to go for like anywhere between 5 to 7 guys. Try to get a decent amount of shares of each of them and hit, different sectors of the board. A couple up top, a couple in the middle, a couple down low. That's generally worked out pretty favorably for me over the last year and a half since we've been doing this. So that'll kind of be my strategy once again tonight.
All right, we got movement now. So I've got this sorted by the top 10. Johnny Vegas is booming, $7.11 a share. Joel Damon up to $6.66. So hit at $3.33. That'll certainly go up. Aaron Rodgers. Jeez, oh man. Patrick Rodgers. My brain's on football. Apparently that never happens. Patrick Rodgers is the only guy in the top 10, Joe, who has not moved off $1 a share. When are we moving on Patrick Rodgers? I know it hasn't been a great run of results for him, but his fair value tonight is 906. He can drive the ball well when he's on. Is it time to buy Patrick Rodgers?
Yeah, it's coming on Patrick Rodgers. I think he probably finishes somewhere in the high 6s to mid 7s. He's just a really good player. Now, is he going to go out there and win you a ton of PGA Tour events? Probably not. But as we talk about many times on this show, you don't need it. A 9th place finish can go very well here if you're paying, $8 a share for him. So it's going to come on him. I think that he definitely probably clears those other guys, Willett and Schaub. And is Swafford. Now, he has an alt designation on the app. Is he in? Do you have any info on that?
I would imagine he's in, right? I mean, he's a PGA Tour winner.
You would think so.
Recently. Let me, well, I can see if I can find that, but I don't have any reason to believe that he's not in the field or as an alternate, but I can try to check real quick for you here, but
I think he's in from what I'm seeing. It may be just like a designation error on Jock Market where it has that little red alt box next to him. But yeah, he's already at 388. I can't imagine his price would be there if he was out of the field.
I see him as in. Yeah.
Okay.
I see him as in. First alternate, Charlie Wee, Carl Peterson's the second alternate. Heath Slocum, wow, baby.
Spofford's got to be it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's a winner. He's got to be in this field. All right, so we're gonna assume he's in. He looks like he's in to me. Looking at the big board here, so we are seeing a lot of movement now, Joe. 850. There's that Patrick Rogers movement. All it took was just 5 seconds of talking about him. Now up to 555. So we're shaping up for a good one now. This is what I like. These guys. Mark Hubbard might win somebody a bunch of money. Matthias Schwab might win somebody a bunch of money. This is fun, man. I'm enjoying this.
It's going to be fun. And the other thing is like with match play this week, it's exciting, right? It is awesome. I love that event, but sometimes on Saturday and Sunday, it can get a little bit monotonous. And if you don't have someone directly in contention, it's tough to watch 18 holes of just match play. This is going to provide you plenty of excitement over the weekend. You're going to see guys move up and down the leaderboard pretty quickly, especially if the conditions play difficult out there. And it's a fun golf course. It looks great on TV. There's opportunities to make eagle, and we have a ton of names going to play for something very important to them. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Let's try to scan the kind of penny stocks one more time here. I'll just try to go below $3. Sung Kang is here at $3.32. I'll go even further than that. Grant McDowell, you mentioned 3.25. Is he the best option here? We mentioned McDowell. We mentioned Wesley Bryan. Anyone else that sticks out to you here, Joe?
Yeah, McDowell 13th recently, I believe. I think that was at the API. So that's a good finish for him. He's a good player. I actually heard really positive things from our guy Tom Jacobs a couple of weeks ago about how he had really started and made a breakthrough with some of his swing changes. Yeah, I'm looking at anyone else. I mean, there's guys that you can 100%. This is a good week to like take a flyer on some of these guys. Ryan Armour's down there. Always kind of plays well in these type of Caribbean coastal events. I know that the form has not been fantastic, but seems like a good, Bo Hogue, Camilo Villegas. I mean, there's names that 100% they aren't coming in playing great, but they're in a weaker field event. And can they potentially put 4 rounds together and finish inside the top 20? I think any of these guys have that ability.
Yeah, Bryson Nimmer also kind of one of those actually I think he has Mackenzie status, but plays all right from time to time. I wouldn't mind him. His last Jock market cash market was the Palmetto Championship, which feels like a decade ago, but he returned you a profit in that one. Joe, I've got 8:53 p.m. Eastern time by my clock, so I think we got to let you get out of here. I think we got to let you make some bids.
You got it, man. I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
All right, brother. Good luck. So here's what we're going to do. Joe's going to go make his bids. I'm going to take you the rest of the way here in the Jock market on the big board. So again, 8:53 p.m. Eastern time by my clock. In about 4 minutes, we are going to enter a 90-second window in which this IPO phase is going to close. So your bids right now are going to determine whether or not those shares get allocated to you. When this thing closes, if you're one of the high bidders, boom, those shares go over into your portfolio, and then we are live. You can sell those shares. You can buy more. You can go find other shares you want to buy. You can short guys. Quite a lot of options, even after this thing goes live and after IPO closes. Let me give the big board a refresh here. So the number one golfer, the most expensive golfer in the Jock market right now is named Johnny Vegas. $8.07. Returned you a profit at the Valspar Championship. Returned you a profit at the RSM Classic. Lost you everything in between, but you've got an elite driver of the golf ball in Johnny Vegas. Your defending champion and second pre-ranked golfer, Joel Damon, $7.33 a share. He made the cut, finished inside the top 40 at both the Players Championship and the Valspar. So he was successful finding the weekend at those events, and he's had a couple of good starts as of late. T6 at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Sahith Tagala, $6.97. He's cooled just a little bit, but then he comes out and he plays well at the Valspar, flies up the leaderboard, gets you another triple-digit ROI. So you've got triple digits at the Valspar, triple digits at the Waste Management. That's Farmers as well. He's putting together a lot of really good finishes. When he gets it going, he is very, very good. This is Joe's guy, Adam Spensen, making a move up the board, $6.88 a share. The Canadian, the ball striker, he's going to be volatile. We've seen it. T9 at the Honda Classic, T85, that's a miscut at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and he makes the cut and finishes inside the top 40 at the Valspar Championship, returns you a profit there. Grayson Sig, look at this fair value difference on Grayson Sig. Fair value tonight, $10.07. Currently $6.54 a share. So if you're buying Sig at $6.54, you're asking him to finish 25th or better. Can the Georgia Bulldog finish 25th or better? We'll find out on Grayson Sig, 8:56 p.m. Eastern time by my clock. I'm going to give the big board a refresh here because we're about to enter that 90-second window. If you haven't deposited yet, the code you're looking for is POWER. And if you haven't commented with your Jock Market username, that's a way to enter into a draw for free Jock Bucks. Two golfers now stand alone above $8. Johnny Vegas and Joel Damon. Grayson Sig is making movies now, the third most expensive golfer. Sahith Theegala now up to the fourth most expensive golfer, surpassing Adam Spensen. A couple of other movers that we talked about earlier tonight. Aaron Rye, $6.50 a share, while Kramer Hickok sits at $6.22 and Patrick Rogers at $6.12. Our guy Doc, $6.05. Finding some good form, right? Turns your profit at the Valspar, turns you a big profit at the Players, returns your profit at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He's making a move. He's playing better. It's been a slow shift for Doc, but things are certainly coming around. My clock shows 8:57 p.m. Eastern time. That means we are now in that 90-second window where this IPO phase can close at any time. So your phone is probably ringing off the hook. Your notifications are probably lighting up, and you're probably seeing that Johnny Vegas is $8.50 a share along with Joel Damon. Those two seemingly going 1-2 this evening. Will Damon surpass Vegas? Vegas has the number one pre-rank going for him, so we'll see if that's good enough to maintain his position as the most expensive golfer in the cash market. We did see Smotherman make a little bit of a move here. He's now up to $5.75. If you want to take a flyer on a windy guy, Peter Uihlein now $5.55 a share. The Højgaard brothers, Nikolai at $5.97, Rasmus at $5.16, Tyler Duncan, who played himself into a top 25 at the Valspar last week, he is only $5.01 a share. I'm going to try to steal another refresh here. Let's see if I can do it. Here. 8:58 by my clock. Oh, Joel Damon's trying. Joel Damon's coming for Johnny Vegas. He's now 6 cents behind. $8.44 a share for Joel Damon with Vegas at $8.50. Sig and Sahith battling for that third most expensive golfer designation, while Adam Spensen carving out a nice little spot right behind at $7.36. A couple of big movers since the last refresh. Nate Lashley now $5.95 a share. Top 30 at the Valspar. Top 30 at Pebble Beach. Both of those were triple-digit ROIs for Nate Lashley. And Emiliano Grillo, a lot of question marks around Grillo for this week. He's returned you just one profit over the course of his last, 10, 11 starts. But this has been a very good place for him. Are we done, Joe? Still going?
Mm-mm.
Oh, we're still going. All right, here we go.
Showing still active.
8:59 by my clock. I didn't think
I'm trying to hold strong here on a couple of guys.
He's fending off the threats. Johnny Vegas still 5 cents clear of Joel Damon. And look at this, Sahith Theegala, a late run for Sahith, $8.06. He's entering his name into the third most expensive. Man, shut it down.
We're closed.
All right, shut it down. Oh boy, that got a little sweaty there at the end.
Yeah, I think I got him. I was trying to hold tight on a couple of guys and monitoring, just praying for close. Let's see when they move over here to holdings. Who made a big move late that you saw?
Aaron Rye was trying to come up the board. Mark Hubbard was trying to come up the board. Danny Willett came up the board pretty late. I'll get the official numbers on that. So if you're just tuning in, we got to let the big board settle here. We've got to let the numbers come over. Joe's going to give us his portfolio. In the meantime, you can drop your portfolio into the chat. It's always fun to see who other people got, and I'm still waiting for my big board to refresh here. Joe, do you have your holdings or no?
I should. Yes, I do.
All right, why don't we do that then? Why don't we see who Joe has in his portfolio for this evening?
Okay. Sahith,
You got it.
806. So
Okay, so
I
that was
mentioned
you. That was you moving him up the board.
that was me, and I mentioned I feel kind of bad because I mentioned that I was very bearish on him, but that was at like 10:30. So at 806 is a different story. Adam Spensen, made a big move on him at $7.36. Emiliano Grillo was 680. I'm sorry, I got for 588, and I was bullish on him at like $6, so I took that. I did get some of Mr. Austin Smotherman, who you kind of talked me into, and then some guys in the $3 and $2 range. So, man, these names: Rafa Cabrera Bello at 366, Wes Bryan at 333, and then I don't know what I was doing here, but I took Rafael Campos at 244. Maybe he could make another run at this thing. That's who I got this week. Boy, is that ugly to sort of see on the screen there. But it's all relative, right?
Sahith, Spensen, Grillo, Smotherman, Rafa Cabrera Bello, Wesley Bryan, Rafael Campos. My, oh my, this is certainly the Corrales Puntacana Championship, isn't it?
My oh my, this certainly is not a WGC event a couple of weeks ago when I had like everyone.
Yeah,
So
it was
it's
like
different.
Rory, Hideki, DJ, Brooks.
Yeah, I know. We'll see though if it can work out and one of these guys can come through with victory. I really like Spensen and Sith this week. I think that it's a great opportunity for either one of those guys, and hoping that they can pull this thing out.
Brett got Aaron Rye, Patrick Rogers, Matthias Schwab, Alex Smalley, Thomas Dietrich, Rafa Cabrera Bello. So at least, Joe, you've got a partner in crime there in Brett on RCB.
There we go. A lot of guys. Nick Taylor, Reeves, Keimer, Bryan, man, yeah, Snoopaloop. Wes Bryan, I like that one a lot. I think that he had obviously been grinding, trying to keep that card. Maybe it's one of those situations where all the pressure is kind of lifted and you can just go out. We saw how emotional he was last week in a good player who's obviously been gearing up to try and make a run and practicing as hard as possible. Maybe this could be a week for him where something good happens.
Yeah, here's the big board. So Johnny Vegas holds off a late charging Joel Damon to become the most expensive golfer for the Corrales Puntacana Championship and the number one pre-ranked golfer. So he will break all ties. Damon at $8.50, and then Sahith, the only other golfer over $8. They are 1, 2, and 3 in the pre-rank, Joe. So probably very little surprise, except that I think maybe I it's 6 cents, but would have thought Damon would have gone for more.
Yeah, me too. And even Vegas, just seeing where the fair value is, they're like almost $3 off of that. So I think that those numbers may have just been a little bit wonky this week. In terms of value, it feels to me like looking at this, like I may have overlooked Patrick Rogers a little bit. Down there at 650 is pretty cheap when his fair value was just over $9. Aaron Rye is a decent price too. I know we talked about it, 958. He went for below 7. So there's a couple of guys. Your boy Kramer Hickok made a nice little run.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Kramer Hickok, $6.85. I think he's live to win this thing. We'll see how it all shakes out. Grayson Sig, who I was bullish on at a much higher price, so I've got to be bullish on at $7.55, is hanging in there. Just trying to see if there's any big notables. I mean, I think Grillo at 588. I don't know if it's just the most interesting to me. I don't know. Like, if he plays anything like the Grillo from not the last 7 weeks, this is an awesome price. You know what I mean? Like, it's awesome. If he just gets back to like being normal, this is a great price. But that one I'd be very interested to see how it plays out.
The Hojgaard brothers over there at 597, and what Rasmus do? 526. Okay, so they both went in the $5 range.
Yeah, that was they were making moves late there. Just trying to see if there's anything else. Kitayama went for $4.44. Kiradad Effie Barner at $4.33. Graham McDowell, $3.75. That was one we were keeping an eye on. And then I think that might be it. Oh, Wes Bryan, $3.33, but we knew that because you got shares of Wes Bryan.
Yep.
Cool. All right. That was fun. How about that? Oh my gosh, yes. What a Jock Market Power Hour. Corrales Puntacana Championship. So it's live now. You can buy shares of other golfers. You can sell your shares. You can short guys in the market. It's all up for grabs here, Joe. It's something else to keep your eyes on over the course of the next 4 days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of people are going to look into it, and there should be a ton of value in this given the number of shares and seemingly where players went compared to their fair value. So hopefully this is a good market for everyone, can kind of build up that portfolio. And then we got Valero, and then we got Masters, baby. So we're gonna roll right into it, and hopefully you can build up some dollars in the account this week.
Masters is going to be here before you know it. How crazy is that?
So quickly. Appreciate all you guys for stopping with us. You want to give away some more money before we get out of here?
I do. I've just got to find the comment. Oh boy. Give me 1 second. It was earlier. The Mojo King. There it was. 529.
Beauty.
Mojo King, congratulations. You are on the board. We'll get those sent out to you here in just a couple of days. But otherwise, Joe's right. Valero next week. Masters following after that. We'll be back to break it all down. Same time, same place. You can follow Joe on Twitter at TorPicks, and you can find me at RickRunGood. This has been your Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Corrales Puntacana Championship. Good luck.
Peace.